Yeah, I fully agree. I think I don't think a consumer, and I mean this with the greatest respect to consumers, but I don't think a consumer really cares about
No.
how their money moves from my account to your account, right? It's like when, if you ask someone on the street, when you tap your card or put in your, do you know what happens? Like, do you know what interchange is? Do you know who the rails are? Do you know the settlement? No one knows. Why? Because A, it works, and you don't need to know, right? I don't necessarily need to know how. I've got this fascination about how live television works, but that's one for another day. So I don't need to know how that works. It just works, right? And I think that's probably where some of the successful fintechs that I've seen over the last couple of decades is they make things seamless. It's not about the technology. It's about the experience. There's a remittance business in South Africa that remits funds overseas, fully licensed, and they use a crypto or digital currency to do that. When they first went to market, they were talking about, we use crypto and Bitcoin, and people were like, oh, this sounds like a scam. As soon as they took that off, and it was like, we just do remittances, and it's fast, it's cheap, and it's kind of super simple. That was it. The market took off. So maybe the consumer doesn't need to know. Pauline, I would like to ask you something on cash. Now, I know we're digital and we're all kind of, waving the rah-rah fintech, but let's, again, say how it is. Cash is a huge part of the economy, and it isn't necessarily going anywhere or going away anytime soon. How do, certainly at the, and again, I did some reading beforehand, again, not to broaden and segment, but you're looking at consumers who are around sort of 8,000 Rand up, right? 50, 80, whatever it may be. At that sort of 10,000 Rand and below, a lot of that tends to be sort of cash, right? A lot of people these days are doing side gigs, which can be cash, certainly if they're working in services. How would they convert their cash to OM Bank, for example? Is there a kind of a, is it off-ramping? I don't know if it's on-ramping or off-ramping. I don't know. Are you off-ramping cash? I don't know what you are. But how do you exchange your cash into OM Bank, or is that just not the model you're looking at?
Yeah, that is so at the moment the channel that's open is the deposit at point of sale. So utilizing your card, you can deposit at some of the major grocery retailers. The Pick and Pay Group, ShopRite, Checkers Group have enabled that. So that's our primary way of getting cash into the environments. That is, we are exploring around whether there are additional ways that we would want to accommodate those things. That is, however, one has to weigh the pros and cons of those kind of processes. So whilst we have a branch network, we're bringing cash into branches comes also at things like security considerations and risk to the teams, etc. So we are exploring additional opportunities in that space, but at this point in time using retailers to assist with the cash in as well as the cash out of our products is where we're focusing at this point.
I guess there needs to be a bit of a sort of an education piece as well around Old Mutual, which I walk past the branch in Clearwater every time I'm in there, because that's where I park. What is that? Is to consumers? Is that, okay, I can just pop to the bank, and that they're going to automatically associate OM Bank with Old Mutual? Is that a challenge you foresee, or not really?
And that is so. I mean, like you mentioned, from a regulatory point of view, we're called OM Bank. There was a historic Old Mutual bank in the past history, and that's why that name can't be reused. That is. However, if you look at the media, we are very often referred to as Old Mutual Bank. It is kind of the logical connection. I mean, we've kept the bankers of the Old Mutual in our brand. We strongly affiliated to that brand. That is, we haven't seen people being confused about where OM Bank fits into, that it does fit into the Old Mutual group. And I think for us it's a very valuable association. Is that there's no price you can put on 180 years of trust and establishment, in terms of like when you're starting a bank, right? Customers do want to know this isn't just some new ideas like you referred to earlier. Is that unfortunately financial services has been plagued by players that weren't as sound, and that has led to significant concerns with consumers. So that is, it's part of our DNA that is where we were conceptualized, and that's where the business has grown from.
But do you see a point in time where consumers, your customers, are going to walk into the branch in Clearwater or whatever it may be, and go, okay, here's my $100. Can I deposit this? Or I've got a problem, or I don't know how to do something. Do you see that as something that may materialize? Or
So we actually our branches at the moment are fully trained to assist people on the onboarding journeys. That is, and they also know how to route any queries that the customers have around their product. That is if there are significant concerns. The people in the branch can assist the customer to make sure they can't solve everything first line, but they know exactly where to route queries through how to deal them and help the customer navigate some of that. Digital can be a little bit daunting sometimes, and I think people do want to, every now and again, you want to know that there's actually a person that you can go to that can assist you in the process. So that is already happening. The kind of like extension of servicing we will evaluate over time in terms of all of the things that we will be able to enable in that environment.
It kind of goes without saying. I had a note written down here going to talk about trust, but I don't think we probably need to talk about that, to be honest with you. It's the conversation I have with lots of newer fintechs or international fintechs that are coming into different markets and say, oh yeah, well we're a trusted brand. Well, you may be in other markets, but you come in here, you're completely unknown. You don't have 140 plus years of customer loyalty and what have you. So I guess it does count for a lot, but it also puts a great deal of pressure and expectation on yourselves, the leadership team, and anyone working in the business, that they have to conform to the same standards and the same level of trust that the group has built over 140 years. So I imagine that's again quite a tough thing to do. You want to kind of work in this digital first, agile environment, microservices. You're building back from scratch. It's not like it's legacy systems that you're trying to build on top of. But from a cultural perspective, and trying to ensuring that you maintain that level of trust throughout the country, that's a big task in itself.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. So some days we look a little bit tired, and maybe because of that. I think it's also because of the fact that banking is so much more paced in terms of the expectation, right? Is that if I want to make a payment on my app, it must work right now, right? Because I owe you the money. I just bought something from you. You're waiting for it. It has to work, and it has to work right now. As opposed to when I deal with a lot of the other more insurance-based products, is that might meet with my financial advisor. They'll prepare me a proposal and have some time to think over it. And, and likewise, if I have a claim, I know I'm going to go and submit the claim, fill out all the forms, get the police reports if it's a car issue or whatever. And then I wait for my payout. And as a consumer, I know that I'm going to have to wait for that. I know that that's not happening right now. Now, in some of the spaces, this is a little bit more accelerated, because obviously when it comes to things like funeral plan payouts, there are very, very rapid processes. So don't quote me as saying that everything moves at a slower pace, because those things definitely are handled very, very quickly. But the essence of banking is that on a day-to-day basis, one interacts with the bank, whether you swipe your card or you need to make a payment, you just want to check your balance, whatever it is, it's got to work every day, and it's got to work all the time. So that kind of dynamic that brings is that every interaction also means that every day you could end up with a service failure. You could end up with something that doesn't quite work as the customer expected it. And so the feedback is coming at us very, very rapidly. And I think the big responsibility that we hold is that is to solve those things in the quickest and most professional way, because you can't get away from the fact that, there are going to be things not always in our control either, right? Because somebody kind of charged that speed point that, well, the card's not going to work either, right? So there's always going to be things in that process. And I think this is obviously the where we would feel the pressure, because we do not want to jeopardize long-standing trusted relationships that people have with the insurer by short-term kind of interruptions in the service experience. So it's a big responsibility that is. But we're aware of it. We know that we have to deal it. And so therefore the focus is there, because service is ultimately, I think, where a lot of the trust with banks is breaking down, is when things don't work, like how I experience my bank, that tends to be the thing that creates that break in the process. And I often use the example of, I had this friend of mine who phoned me in a panic just before. I think it was a Friday, and she goes like, they'd taken 6,000 Rand out of my account, and it wasn't me, and I've been to the branch and they can't help me. And that 6,000 Rand for her was the difference between being able to pay rent or not pay rent. And she was like, you work for banks, so please can you tell me what to do? And so I went to go and Google the website of her bank. I found the fraud reporting number, and I literally coached her and said, okay, well, you need to tell them the following things, right? This is what happened. You didn't go onto this website. This weren't your details. You didn't, you confirmed you didn't get an OTP that you approved, etc., etc. Tell them the whole story, and I promise you they will sort it out. And she phoned me 3 days later, and she got the money back. They charged it back, and it was fine. But the issue is that her bank had completely failed her. They sent her through the branch. She talked to people. They didn't help her. So her kind of trust with what banks can do, and therefore trust in the system, right? Trust in, is it safe for me to have a card? Should I rather just withdraw my cash and pay my bills that way again? Because this feels very, very insecure. Somebody can just take things.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff we're talking about in terms of, that's still trust that needs to be worked on every single day. It's not necessarily trust around thinking that my money isn't secure in the bank per se, but it is the trust that when something goes wrong, will this bank help me resolve those things wherever they can?
You know what? I learned that. I didn't learn that. I was that was explained to me only about 2 weeks ago. again, kind of in this world of fintech, you're speaking to all the innovators and you're speaking to all these cool companies, and they're saying, people don't trust banks, and you build up this picture of, okay, so people actually literally don't trust the banking system, they don't trust that their money's safe. Actually, it's not that. It's when there's a problem, right? When there's a problem, can it be resolved? If something happens to my account or my card is faulty or whatever it may be, how does that get rectified? That's where the trust is. It's not, hold on for 20 minutes in a call center, chewing up your airtime, leaving you hugely frustrated. And at the end of it, you like you said, we're quite fortunate. We kind of understand how the banking system payments work. We would know who to kind of route to. But again, a normal person on the street is probably not going to have that knowledge, right? I look at I make an online payment. Something goes wrong. I don't get where do I go? Do I go to the merchant? I look at my card and it's issued by my bank. Okay. But it's also got a Visa or a MasterCard logo. So do I go to them? When I paid, there's a pop-up page and it had a payment service provider. Do I go to them? Like it's complex. And I think that there probably needs to be the clarity for the consumer as well. But that's one for another day. I kind of have two last questions for you. I know we're running slightly over, but this is a fascinating conversation. Firstly, with regards to onboarding and kind of new customer acquisition, onboarding, as we discussed earlier, historically has been very, very difficult and cumbersome and time consuming. I imagine, putting words into your mouth here, but OM Bank is digital. It's digital KYC. There's some sort of biometrics involved. What is that process, and how have you been able to work within the confines of regulation here in South Africa to achieve?
Yeah, that is. That is so. I think, I mean, the process is all digital. So we are utilizing the links into ultimately via partners, the Department of Home Affairs, to verify customers. That sounds simple. It isn't always simple. We had some scenarios where, at 50, people don't tend to look like their ID picture from when they were about 16 years old. So sometimes the facial recognition isn't as good as it should be. That is, especially with those old, photos that are being held in the environment. But generally a very, very good experience. I think there's lots of progress in that space to make those things earlier, and then we keep the process as digital as possible in terms of looking at. We only ask for additional information where it really is required from a enhanced due diligence process, which means that the majority of people actually have a very, very simple onboarding experience. So that really is what underpins what we're trying to do in that space. Gather enough information. We're very sticky about the security of that process in terms of making sure there is a trust relationship technically developed between the person, our app, and the actual device on which the app is being installed. So we do because, I mean, there always is like, as a business person, I'd have a tendency to just keep it as simple as possible and but you have got to protect customers in the process. Identity theft is a real thing in this industry. So one has to make sure that all of the processes that run to create a secure relationship with the customer and to do all of the necessary verifications in the background actually creates that safety net as well.
I'll make you laugh. About a year and a half ago, I had a call from our accountants, our business accountants. He said, Darren, I'm just making sure you're okay. Yeah, I'm fine. Why? He said, we just checked on CIPC and you're listed as being dead. I was like, No, I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not. But someone had fraudulated the business, and anyway, that's a whole nother story. But the whole kind of the whole compliance angle and the regulatory controls now as a fully fledged bank,
Mm,
very different to, I suppose, the insurance side of the business or other fintechs that are in payments or are in lending or what have you. They're not offering sort of banking. They don't have a banking license. How do you, this is my last question, I promise. But how do you innovate with such rigorous regulatory pressure? And again, let's call it what it is. South Africa is one of the heaviest regulated
mm.
countries in the world when it comes to financial services. How do you innovate when we have the SARB and the FSCA and the FIC and everyone else kind of going, okay, we're going to look at this now, and now we're going to look at stable coins, and now we're going to look at cross-border payments, and everything's changing. The MPS being open, so how do you do that?
So it's not an easy thing. Let's be clear about it. I think linking back to the previous question, I think there are parts where we also participate in collaborations with the industry, because certain things one can't solve on your own. I think the country would massively benefit from us getting into the digital ID space, so that we have a far more universal way of validating those places. Because the thing is that yes, regulations look slightly different, but the intent of all of them is the same. And at the end of the day, even if you're a fintech, you still do not want customers through your door that aren't real customers or that are that's all that stuff blows back badly anyway. So we all have an interest in making sure it works. The SARB is also yes, we're opening up entry for people to participate more directly in the payments industry. It also comes with a huge amount of demand around so what controls do you implement in that space? I think more generically, innovation has got to be around the customer experience. You can't get around the rules, right? So I think anybody who thinks they should innovate to try and find a way around the rules, you've got to make sure you make the rules work in such a way that it delivers value to your customers. So it's got to be ruthlessly about are you able to create a different experience? Are you able to take friction out the system? Can you make decisions for your customers where there is no doubt about it? So the thing is that when it comes to something very simple like payments, right? If I go onto one of the incumbent banks that I bank with, and I go onto the app, it is my decision whether I do an EFT, an RTC, or a pay shop. There are choices I have to make, right? If I want to do pay shop, I have to go to a different menu altogether. And whether I do EFT or RTC is then a choice on the same screen, right? Now, the question is that if my bank would have me at the center of this, and which is where we wanting to be, is why don't I tell Pauline that if she wants this payment, that's the best way and the cheapest way to do it?
Absolutely.
That is why do I give her the choice to potentially make a suboptimal decision for her? So for herself, because she'll pay more if she clicks RTC instead of going to the separate pay shop menu. Now this is the kind of stuff that I think that's where the difference lies, right? Is that you gotta help your customer get to the optimal outcome. You create that experience, then have you created something that is fundamentally innovative? I don't go I'm not sure I can write a Harvard paper about it, right? Because it's not all that kind of it's not technical. It's not like a completely new, I haven't invented stable coins or something like that. But what I've done is I've created a user experience that makes a fundamental difference to my customer. And that's how I think about innovating within the constraints of the environment that we're working in.
Well, Fascinating, really, really fascinating. We've gone through nearly 45 minutes of not mentioning open banking once.
Oh,
We
gosh, did
mentioned
we not
crypto
get
very
there?
briefly. We haven't covered forex either, and XCon. Maybe that's one for another day. But
Hmm.
I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, Pauline. As people who are watching the show know, none of my episodes are ever scripted. Pauline really had no idea what I was going to throw at her. She's done a great job in answering some of my questions, well, all of my questions. But I suppose, lastly, in terms of the immediate future, the next 3-6 months, what does that look like for the bank? Are we live now? Have you got sort of customers? What's the plan?
Yeah, so we're live. That is apps available on the app stores. So we are seeing customers on board. Our branches are selling to the customers that walk through the door to see them join our mutual bank. We're very happy with the initial uptake we're seeing in the process. We deliberately did an approach where we avoided going big advertising campaigns at the very outset. We wanted to make sure our processes were running smoothly, our servicing was in place. So all of that has gone through kind of rapid learning curves in certain places, for sure. That is, but with lots of enhancement and work having taken place based on the customer experience. So the next 3 to 6 months, you should start seeing more of our brand out in the marketplace as we start marketing the product. That is still a bunch of things that we're busy developing. So it still has some upcoming attractions in terms of additional feature functionality that we are launching in the next 6 to 9 months. So yeah, watch this space.
I'm looking forward to watching the journey. Pauline, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you so much for your time. I'll let you get back. You clearly got a few things and a few plates you're spinning at the moment.
Yeah.
The understatement of the century. But again, best of luck, and we're looking forward to kind of having you back on maybe in 6 months' time and seeing where we're up to and what the world of banking is looking like. I've got a feeling it's going to look slightly different, but that's just my opinion.
Okay. Now to look forward to that, and thank you so much for having me. I love this conversation. It was really fun to talk through some of these things.
It was great to geek out on things. Pauline, thank you so much.